She sat in the same plastic chair in the teacher's lounge every single morning for 44 years. Same chair, same thermos of homemade coffee, same brown paper bag lunch, a peanut butter sandwich, an apple, and a cookie she baked herself the night before. Every day, without exception, her students called her the bag lady. Not because she was poor. They just didn't know any better. When Sondra Leaves died in February of 2019 at the age of 79, her former colleagues expected maybe a modest estate, a small house in Rutland, Vermont, some jewelry, maybe a few $1,000s split among relatives. Instead, the attorney opened the will and read a number that stopped the room cold. $4,300,000. And almost none of it went to family. This is the story of a woman who earned $52,000 a year at her peak, never took a vacation that cost more than $400, and quietly built one of the most stunning private fortunes anyone in her town had ever seen. This is the story of what she actually understood about money, and why almost nobody around her had any idea. Sondra Leaves was born in 1940 in Burlington, Vermont, the daughter of a hardware store owner and a seamstress. Her family wasn't poor, but they weren't wealthy either. What they were was careful. Her father kept a handwritten ledger of every single dollar that came into and left that hardware store. Her mother repaired every piece of clothing until it couldn't be repaired anymore. The word waste in their house was treated like a curse word. Sondra absorbed all of it. She graduated from the University of Vermont in 1962 with a degree in elementary education and took a job at Rutland South Elementary School the following fall. She would teach 4th grade there for the next 44 years. She loved it. She genuinely loved those kids. But she also never confused her career with her financial plan. Her salary in 1962 was $4,800 a year. By the time she retired in 2006, she was earning $52,000. In between those years, there was no windfall, no inheritance, no real estate empire, no second income, just a teacher's salary and a set of decisions that almost nobody around her was watching carefully enough to notice. In 1963, the year after she started teaching, Sondra opened a brokerage account at a small firm in Burlington. She deposited $600, nearly 2 months of take-home pay. She bought shares in 3 companies, an electric utility, a consumer goods firm, and a railroad company. Then she did something that seems almost impossible to do in the modern world. She left them alone, not for a year, not for 5 years, for decades. Every month without fail, she deposited whatever she could into that account. Some months it was $1.50, some months it was $200. She reinvested every dividend automatically. She didn't check the stock price daily. She didn't panic in 1987 when the market dropped 22% in a single day. She didn't sell in 2001 when the dot-com bubble burst. She didn't touch a penny in 2008 when the financial crisis wiped out the retirement savings of millions of Americans. She just kept buying. By 2006, the year she retired, that account had grown to just over $2.1 million. But here's the part that most people miss. The account itself wasn't the whole story. Sondra had bought her home in Rutland in 1971 for $28,000. She paid it off in 12 years instead of 30, making extra payments whenever she had them. She drove the same car for over 2 decades. She cooked every single meal at home. She got her library card renewed every year and read constantly because books were free. Her monthly expenses in retirement were under $1,400. She lived not like someone who had $4 million. She lived like someone who intended to keep it. Her neighbors in Rutland thought she was struggling. That was the natural conclusion. The 1987 Buick, the garden she grew every summer to cut her grocery bill. The yard sales she went to every weekend, not to sell but to buy. They assumed she clipped coupons because she needed to. They felt sorry for her in that quiet American way people feel sorry for someone they think can't afford more. She knew exactly what they thought, and she didn't care. That's the part of this story that's hardest to explain to people who didn't grow up the way Sondra did. She didn't measure her life by what her neighbors could see. She measured it by what her account statement said every quarter. And every quarter, for 44 years, that number went up. There's a term financial researchers use. Stealth wealth. It describes people who have accumulated significant assets while deliberately maintaining a lifestyle that reveals nothing about it. Studies suggest there are hundreds of thousands of people like Sondra in the United States right now, people with net worths above $1 million who don't look anything like what your brain pictures when you hear the word millionaire. They don't drive the car. They don't wear the watch. They don't take the vacation. They just keep investing quietly for decades. When Sondra's will was read, the bulk of her estate, $3.1 million, went to three places: a college scholarship fund for first-generation university students at the University of Vermont, the local public library she had used every single week for 50 years, and a small children's hospital in Rutland that she had volunteered at on Saturdays for over a decade. She gave $200,000 to a niece she adored. The rest went to charity. She had no spouse, no children. She left the world the way she chose to leave it, quietly, and better than she found it. So, what does a retired school teacher with a $4 million estate actually teach us? The first lesson is the one people always want to skip. Time beats income. Every single time. Sondra never earned a Wall Street salary. She earned a teacher's salary, but she started at 22 and never stopped. 44 years of consistent investing, left alone to compound, produced a fortune that no one around her could have predicted from the outside. You do not need a high income to build serious wealth. You need time and consistency. The second lesson is the one that actually hurts a little. Every dollar you spend showing off wealth is a dollar that isn't building it. The 1987 Buick, the packed lunch, the library card, those weren't signs of failure. They were the method. The gap between what Sondra earned and what Sondra spent was the engine. Every dollar that didn't go to restaurants or car payments or expensive vacations went into that brokerage account instead. She understood that money has exactly one superpower, and it's called compound interest. But compound interest only works if you don't interrupt it. The third lesson is the one she never got to say out loud. Build wealth for your own reasons, not to impress people who'll never really know you anyway, not to signal status to neighbors who are drowning in debt to look rich. Build it for what it can actually do: freedom, security, legacy, or in Sondra's case, a scholarship fund that will send kids to college for the next 50 years. She lived on $1,400 a month in retirement, and she died having changed hundreds of lives. The most powerful financial strategy isn't complicated. It doesn't require a finance degree or a Silicon Valley salary. It requires a brown paper bag, a thermos of coffee, and the discipline to do the same thing quietly. For long enough that the math finally catches up, Sondra Leaves knew that. Her students just called her the bag lady. They had no idea she was the richest person in the room. If this story made you see money differently, subscribe to JackFinanceWolf.